Oshodi, one of the areas in Lagos State.
It's okay and it's good.
But what are the consequences of this? Well, hello there, and a warm welcome to this week's edition of Super Eye. And of course, as always, I'm your host, Adenike Oweye Ajiboye. And thank God that there's no match at this point in time. And that's the reason why Super Eye is coming just at the right time. So many thanks for being there to watch. All right, today on the program, the focus is on the 2018 budget as it revolves around the controversy between the executive and the legislature. You are aware that the president, while signing the budget precisely on Wednesday, that is June 20th, he raised some concerns, saying that the budget has been raised from 8.61 trillion naira to 9.12 trillion naira. Now, this is a major concern to the presidency, and the National Assembly has also, responded, saying that everything that they have done is within the context of the Constitution. So today on the program, we want to look at this particular issue, why the legislature and the executive are not having a smooth relationship. So this is what we want to look at, and the budget itself, what the impact will be on Nigerians. So another warm welcome to the program. So today I have my guests in the studio to discuss this issue together with me. I have our own barrister Tunde Kolawole, the effervescent barrister Tunde Kolawole. You're welcome to Super Eye.
Good afternoon, Nick. Thanks for having me. Let me say good afternoon to all the good people.
And I really want to appreciate you.
Time to listen to
watch, exactly. And I really want to appreciate you that in spite of the rains, you still find your way here. Many thanks.
It's a great pleasure.
All right, seated beside him is also another legal practitioner to discuss this. She is the brilliant lady, Jobena Edu. Jobena Edu, you're welcome to Super Eye.
Thank you very much. Nice to be on the program.
All right, beautiful. So to start with, I think it is important for us to see what the signing ceremony was like, or what the president was saying as regards this particular 2018 budget. So let's take a listen to what our president said while signing this very budget.
I'm concerned about some of the changes that the National Assembly has made to the budget proposals that I presented. The logic behind the constitutional direction that budgets should be proposed by the executive is that it is the executive that knows and defines the policies and projects. Unfortunately, that has not been given much regard in what has been sent to me. The National Assembly made cuts amounting to 347 billion naira in the allocation to 4,700 projects submitted to them for consideration, and introduced 6,403 projects of their own amounting to 578 billion naira. Many of the projects cut are critical and may be difficult, if not impossible, to implement with the reduced allocation. Some of the new projects inserted by the National Assembly have not been properly conceptualized, designed, and costed, and will therefore be difficult to execute.
Yet, of course, that's President Muhammadu Buhari talking about all the concerns he asked about the 2018 budget. So, Barrister Tunde Kolawole, I want to start with you. What do you make out of the concerns of President Muhammadu Buhari?
Honestly speaking, in my humble opinion, whatever malfeasances we have seen with the budget since President Buhari came on board, I think the president should be held responsible for some of these things, if not all or most of the challenges that we have had with the budget. Secondly, I think the president's speech on signing of this budget is ill-advised and totally uncalled for. It appears to me to be an attempt by the president to really whip up sentiments and also knock the head of the National Assembly against the average Nigerian public with regard to some of his utterances. Why do I say this? I'm saying this because when you look at the Constitution, or when you even look at the antecedent of Mr. President himself, if you say you want changes and you are planning for changes,
Exactly.
what one would expect is that the president would have shopped around for people of like minds to aid the National Assembly.
Okay.
But see, when he came in, he was politically naive. He allowed the reactionary elements who had enormous fear for him. And I said they have enormous fear for him because of his own antecedent in 1983. You know, when he came into power in
83, yeah.
1983 and all that, when he carried his he came into power and all that, most of these politicians, businessmen and all that, he sent some of them to jail, some of them even died while in prison. He changed the color of the naira, so some of them who had stolen money and heated it in septic tanks and the roofs of the houses and all that, lost value for this money. He also came out with a decree which made it difficult, if not impossible, to transfer money out of Nigeria and also to bring money into Nigeria. So immediately he won the election. They had enormous fear that he was going to behave the way and manner he behaved in 1983. So what they simply did, the reactionary elements simply did is to look around and shop for people, especially the leadership of the National Assembly today, and then make sure that they hijack the National Assembly so that whatever radical proposal the president may have, whatever program the president may have, which is likely to affect their own vested interests and all that, these people will sit at the leadership of the National Assembly and checkmate the president. That is why you have continued to have this rancor since 2005. If the president had been alive, proactive,
Since 2015.
Yeah, exactly. If he had not been politically naive and ensure that it is people who have the same commitment to, with him in terms of developing the society, in terms of changes he had anticipated, and also in terms of fighting corruption, he would have ensured that APC as a political party ensure that it's people who have that kind of antecedents, character traits that become the leaders of the National Assembly. But here you have somebody like Dogara, who had been the chairman of the business committee of the House of Representatives since 1999. What is the responsibility of the business committee? The business committee is in charge of all the purchases and most of the sleases that we have had in the House of Representatives. Also look at the antecedent of somebody like Bukola Saraki. I'm sorry to say. Look at all the charges and all the
exactly.
So these are not the kind of character you should have allowed to hijack the leadership of the National Assembly. So that is where the problem first came from. Right. The second one, I would say, is can the president himself be said to be implementing the manifesto of his own political party, the APC, as a party? I do remember that when they were coming into power, the APC as a political, the platform on which Iran gave us some programs. We were talking about changes, restructuring, agricultural revolutions and all that. Are those the things which they could be said to be executing now? In my humble opinion, no. What we have seen with this presidency and all that are some of these political signature projects, and then a kind of populist programs that will either appeal to the Yoruba because of the forthcoming election, or the 10 million bridge that will appeal to the Igbo because of the forthcoming election and all that. And some of these other episodic programs that are neither here nor there. So if he himself does not adhere to the program of his own political party, why is he blaming the people in the National Assembly for also trying to fend for themselves or going to their own side? Because, it's elementary logic, as we say in this part of the world. When you give even a madman
he's going to
also put his own side. The other one is that it appears to me that the president doesn't have a thorough understanding of the Nigerian constitution. When you look at section 81 of the constitution, I'm sorry.
Exactly.
It merely says that the executive arm of government will take a proposal, an estimate of income and expenditure for a particular year. He didn't say it is the way and manner it has been taken that it must come out. I think it is the foolhardy for the National Assembly to just take this proposal from Mr. President and then return it to him.
So which means the National Assembly
yes.
are on the right part by saying that constitutionally all that they have done is right.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because when you look at section 80 of the Nigerian Constitution, it vests the power and control of the nation's resources and funds on the National Assembly.
Because they are the representatives
exactly.
In
fact, that's section 80 particularly vests the powers for the control of the funds of the Republic on the National Assembly. That is why you also look at section 4 or there above the Constitution. We say that the National Assembly has the power to make laws for good governance, peace, and orderliness of the Nigerian society. So when you read all these things, all these aspects of the Constitution side by side, section 80, section 4 of the Constitution, and even section 81 and another, I'm not too sure that the National Assembly has gone outside their jurisdiction.
All right. Thank you very much, Barrister Tunde Kolawole. Okay, I'll move straight to Barrister Edu. What do you make out of all that is happening, the controversies between the National Assembly and the presidency?
Okay, thank you very much. First of all, we must understand, that although a lot of people came expecting to see a president that they saw, or the kind of person they saw in
1983, okay?
But we should understand that this is a democratic process. The head of state that came in 1983 came by force. It wasn't what we wanted. But in a democracy, people must do things in a proper way.
Yeah.
You must do things the way it ought to be done. The National Assembly is there. Of course, like he said that he must align himself with people who are of like mind. But in a democratic setting, you cannot have that. There is no way you can have that. There are different political parties who are voted by the people, and just that alone, you do not expect them to be on all fours with the president. For me, this controversy is good. It's good for our democracy. Okay. At least we have the opportunity now to see what areas in our laws are lacking, what areas we need to make amendments, and what areas we need to retain in our laws as a whole. Now, coming to the issue of the president coming out to openly condemn the National Assembly, that I totally would not agree with. Because being the commander-in-chief, I believe that he ought to have done some, at least, backdoor dressing. Unless if he's telling us that they are he's signing a document which he is saying for the first time
at the time that he's signing
of signature.
Okay.
Which shouldn't be. I mean, at least we all know that before you append your signatures to a document, you must have gone through that document. And if there is any area you do not agree with, it's for you to call the attention of those who prepared the document and state whatever your opinion is. And if there's a possibility of having a redress, then that should be done before signing the budget. Now, coming to the issue of the whatever Section 4, yes, Section 4 allows national assemblies to make laws and all that. But in terms of the budget, I do not feel that the National Assembly has that right to alter or modify the budget in any manner they please. The budget is done by the executive arm. It is their legislative right to do. So if the National Assembly, of course, they can make suggestions and take the document back to the executive to look back and, if possible, add those changes. Not that on their own they will now come, put in new budgets. You see, no matter how beautiful or how well-meaning they are with those additions, once it doesn't have the force of law or the legality that should give it life, then I do not think that they should do that. So I differ on the fact that the National Assembly has a right to alter the budget as they please. Because even the Section 80 and the Section 81, they give life to the budget. All this to authorize the National Assembly to pass the law. If you look at Section 59, it talks about the National Assembly being able to increase or decrease the amount of the budget, the amount, the sum. Fine, they may increase, but the content itself, what constitutes those items on the budget themselves, I do not think that they have the right to do that.
Okay, now that brings me to how the National Assembly has been able to justify these particular changes made. Now, the National Assembly said what they did, that rejigging the amount and all of that was with the knowledge of the executive. And they also say that they would have expected the people working with the president to have briefed him, and he should have gone through it prior the day which he is appending his signature. So on that basis, I want us to take a listen at what the National Assembly is saying, after which we'll be right back into the studio.
Okay. The number of projects have to increase in order to give a sense of belonging to every geopolitical zones of the country, to ensure socio-economic justice, equity, fairness, and to command national loyalty. Nigerians should note that due to the back and forth that we have experienced in the past, the improvement of the budgetary process should be a higher priority than trading blames. This trading of blames and unnecessary scapegoating is not healthy, as it creates needless conflict between the two arms of government. Finally, in order to ensure that all capital projects in the 2018 budget receive their necessary financing in the 2018 budget, we call on Mr. President to present the borrowing plan to the National Assembly so that we can approve it. We therefore want to urge all executive appointees to ensure that they brief Mr. President with the truth and facts of their engagement to promote healthy and harmonious relationship between the executive and the legislature.
It should be noted that the budget of the National Assembly as at 2014 was 150 billion, which is still 10.5 billion more than our current figure, despite increased national challenges that requires frequent public hearings held on almost a daily basis at high cost and intense oversight, which has become more thorough and incisive in order to check the executive. The 139.5 billion budget of the National Assembly represents less than 1.5% of the entire 9 trillion budget. Does it not make sense to use 1.5% to protect the other 98.5%? The public should note that this increase in the legislature's budget was also necessitated by the drastic inflation of the last 4 years. The need to rehabilitate the National Assembly deteriorating facilities, like the elevators, you can see it around when you're coming up, which shut down almost weekly, spending hundreds of millions to procure diesel to constantly power the entire complex, and the need to immediately upgrade the security facilities of the complex.
All right, barristers, these are lawmakers, and you've heard them. Exactly. Now, from the expression of these lawmakers, it shows that there is anger. It shows that they are disappointed in the presidency. Now, I want to tell you, they said the allegation made that the National Assembly increased its budget is not limited to the legislature, but to the 3 arms of government. Exactly. Which means it is the knowledge of the 3 arms of government that that increase was made. What do you make out of this?
Yeah, honestly speaking, you know, during my opening remarks too, I said that the utterances of the president tended towards a blackmail and then an attempt to really knock the head of the Nigerian public against the people in the National Assembly. And I also said that it doesn't appear to me that this president thoroughly understands the Constitution. Let me ask this question, a rhetorical question, so to say.
It's right.
What is the function of the National Assembly or the legislator? Basically 3. They make laws, they conduct oversight functions, and they also represent their people. If you represent your people, are you not in the best position to know in what areas they are lacking and what they urgently need.
Absolutely.
Exactly. If you conduct oversight functions in some of the executive arm of government, municipal parastatals, industries, and what have you, is it not with a view to gathering information which are likely to be useful when you are making things like the budget? You must also remember that before the budget is passed, all the heads of government, the minister, the parastatals, directors, and what have you, we all go to the National Assembly to defend this budget. And the process of defending it and all that, there might be the need to either add to or subtract from certain sections of the Constitution. And if you say you also come from certain constituencies and all that, and you know what your people are lacking and all that, and then the law allows you to make suggestions or even, enrich the budget in such a manner that will benefit one part of the country or the other.
Exactly. Federal representation.
Exactly. So why would you say they don't have the power to do such things? You see, the only area in which the people in the National Assembly will become wrong, in my humble opinion, is that after they have passed this budget and all that, and then the president signs it into law, and then they go back behind there and start awarding the contract to themselves, or started benefiting directly from me in whatever forms it may take, then it becomes a criminal offense. But whatever they do when they are in the yellow chamber of the National Assembly, they hardly can be condemned or punished for it. Under legislative immunities and powers and all that, they have all the latitude in the world to do whatever they like with regards to anything that is submitted to them. If we go by my learned friend's submission, that they have no power whatsoever to add to subtract from me, what you are simply saying is that the National Assembly is just a mere rubber stamp in which whatever people in the executive arms of government bring, then they must automatically pass it like that.
And I am saying,
exactly, I am saying that that will not be in the wisdom of the Constitution that the National Assembly, you just become a mere rubber stamp. I give you an example. If you look at the proposal for the construction of the Lagos-Ibadan Express Road, the third the second Niger Bridge and what have you, go and check the amount of money in which the executive arm of government said they are going to construct those 2 or 3 infrastructures and other. Can it be defended anywhere in the world? In fact, it has been said, cost of contact in this part of the world is the highest in any when you compare it to what is happening in some other parts of the world. Whereas you and I do know, all the ingredients that goes into road construction, only maybe ions are imported. The cement you get here, the granite you get here, the sand you get here.
So why is this
exactly so
high amount?
Exactly. So if the people in the National Assembly, for example, have gone out there, carried out their own market survey, and found out that it is possible for you to construct the Terminal Bridge or the Lagos-Ibadan Express Road cheaper than the executive arm of government is proposing, are we saying that the people in the National Assembly cannot reduce or even add to it if they find out that it is going to be more expensive than the amount that the executive have submitted to them?
Now, Barrister,
it's elementary logic that wait, let me finish my submission. It's elementary logic that the National Assembly cannot be a rubber stamp. The day they become a rubber stamp, that means we are finished. We're never going to have a value for our money. The executive arm of government, what the ordinary legislation should do, which I agree with my learned friend, is that some of these things are better taken at party level and then at caucus level. I do remember that in those days before President Shehu Shagari will pass the budgets and all that, all the party leaders across the divide will first go into a kind of dinner or luncheon or breakfast, something with Mr. President, in which some of the major items in the budget are going to be debated and then discussed with them and all that. And then the leadership will carry this back to the main assembly and discuss the so they have a better understanding.
Okay, Barrister,
with regards to how some of these things are done.
All right, but Barrister, thank you for that submission. I have a caller now from Surulere. Charles, you're welcome to Super Eye.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. You're welcome to Super Eye. Let's have your contribution.
Yeah, the 2016 budget is very sorry. Because I don't know what the agency are doing. Yeah.
Please, can you be audible?
Hello?
Can you be audible, more audible? We can hear you clearly. Hello? Hello, Charles. Okay, I think we lost the call.
You permit me to round up.
All right, please.
Even more worrisome, I mean, is all very embarrassing, is the complaint of Mr. President. Like he said, if you knew that the budget bill has been passed with the intention to commit crime, and then you went ahead.
You know, Barrister, I'm coming to that question, okay. Really. I'm coming to that question. Right. But let me take Barrister Edu. Let me have your submission on what we're saying earlier.
Okay. What I'm saying is that, well, I'm glad that he has agreed with me. I'm not saying that the National Assembly should be a rubber stamp. Okay. There is no way they can be a rubber stamp. Right. All I have said is that when they, of course, they have where they can make suggestions. If they look at the budget, of course, there is a committee to analyze whatever has been brought before them by the president. And when they see lapses, of course, like he rightly said, they know what their people need. And when they see that that is not captured in the budget, all they need to do is take the budget back to the executive arm and express their concerns in those areas that they feel the budget has not been properly covered, for which the executive will now go back and take carry out proper studies into those aspects, then if need be, include them into the budget with justification. And if they see any reason why those things should not be included, probably they want them to be included at a later date, because there's always room for supplementary budgets, you know, then they can also report back to the National Assembly on that.
All right, I believe that there are due process, right, in having to sign the budget and all of that. Like Barrister Kolawole said, that maybe this is just a way to knock heads of National Assembly members and the nation together. Because don't forget that at a point, the story of a budget pardon was raised by a member of the House of Reps. Yes, and he was sent was given a suspension, and thereafter the issue was doused down. Exactly. Now, what I want to say is, are you seeing any connection between this and what is happening at the moment?
Of course, there is a lot of nexus. Like you say, when the Honorable in the House of Representatives raised the issue and said that the budget is always inflated to benefit the people in the National Assembly and all that. He not only wrote an extensive report.
Hello, you're welcome to Super I. 1 minute. Yes. Kenneth, please let's have your contribution. Hello, Kenneth. You're welcome. Let's have your contribution.
Okay, I know I'm not hearing, but let me just make my submission.
Please write on.
The truth is, I don't know where it was stated in the National Assembly. I know they can make adjustments. I don't know if there is any law that says they can insert any of their projects in the budget. I don't know if there's any law towards it. And I challenge the executives to have gone to court so that we all can be sure or know if they can insert projects. We know they can do amendments, corrections, but the starting of projects is my challenge. I tell the executive to take the matter to the Supreme Court so that we all will be clear about it. Thank you very much.
All right, many thanks, Kenneth, for your contribution. Barrister, you were saying something earlier. I don't know. Let's conclude with that. Then we'll come back to Kenneth's points.
Okay. Can you remind me what I was talking about?
We're talking about the nexus between when Jubril raised.
Exactly. Yes. There's a lot of nexus. So the man, apart from raising alarm and all that, he addressed series of press conferences, wrote petitions to most of the anti-corruption agencies and all that. And I'm also aware he held series of meetings with Mr. President and then the Attorney General of the Federation with the view to getting the executive arm of government, which is responsible for law enforcement and all that, to take actions regarding the petition they are treating. But up to now, more than a year after, we never had anything from the executive arm of government. If the executive arm of government was really interested in stopping all these so-called corruption and budget parting and all that, one expects them to have been more proactive in really ensuring that thorough investigations is done, and whoever is culpable in the National Assembly is brought to book. But rather, the presidency swept everything under the carpet and all that. So it's a kind of signal to the people in the National Assembly to continue in the old ways they have always conducted the businesses of the National Assembly. And I'm not surprised, because the executive arm of government, the presidency, unfortunately, wants a second term. And when you want a second term, there is you hardly can rock the boat too far because sooner than later all
it's
these
going to
people are
bounce
going to be
back
very
on
useful
you.
Yes.
in the presidency.
Exactly.
Then the other fundamental issue where I see that the president is making a very, very terrible mistake is this, like I earlier wanted to say. If, for example, you need a budget that has been passed with the intention to commit crime and all that, and you went ahead
Thank you.
and signed it into law without complaining.
Plus, Barrister,
Yes.
this is a government that has come to power telling us that
Exactly.
they are bent on fighting corruption.
Corruption and change.
Fighting corruption, war against corruption.
Exactly,
Now, all that we've
exactly,
seen is,
exactly.
don't forget that the opposition party, the strongest opposition party,
Exactly, yeah.
as of now, which is the People's Democratic Party, keeps saying that the anti-corruption war is one-sided,
exactly,
you know,
exactly.
like witch hunting them, really. Now, if people from your own party, they are concerns raised that they are also corrupt, how has it been pretty difficult for you to have been able to lead by example by showing us, I mean, make them a scapegoat, that we know that indeed you're not out for the opposition party.
vindictive.
Now, I'm looking, if they are actually out to fight corruption, wouldn't you think is wrong for the president to go ahead and sign?
Exactly. I think it is very, very wrong for him to do that. One way as lawyer would say that volenti non fit injuria. Yeah, exactly. Once you submitted yourself to it, then you cannot be seen to be complaining thereafter.
So you bear the brunt.
Furthermore, like I said, if you knew that a bill has been passed with the intent to commit crime, you went ahead and signed it. The ingredients of you also being part and parcel of the crime is already established. There's what we call mens rea,
Yes.
and then also actorial.
Yes.
That is to say you knew and you become a kind of participant
Yes.
criminalist.
So quickly,
for that very reason,
let me
he
take
could not be seen to be complaining thereafter.
Any longer.
Immediately he has signed that
And
into law.
I'm going to turn to Barrister Edwin now.
Yes.
Kenneth has called saying that he challenged the executive to take the lawmakers to court. Is this still possible based on constitutionally for the president to have gone to sign? Can he still take the legislature to
No,
court?
I don't think he can still take them to court because he has already given his assent to the
Exactly.
bill. It has become law. You know, so I don't think so. If he knew from the onset that he was not in agreement with what was done, why did he sign?
Okay.
He shouldn't have signed it. Probably he was looking at the fact that maybe after 30 days, if nothing is done, the National Assembly can, on their own, override him. Probably he didn't want himself to be overridden by the National Assembly. That is why he went ahead to sign it.
So do we now say that having to sign this, because we know that definitely this is the third year of their administration, and now by next year we'll be talking about 2019 election. So could this be that there is some form of political undertone to this signing of the 2018 budget?
Well, I have read the excuses of Mr. President. One of the things he said was that the budget is already delayed, and
yes.
he doesn't want any more delay, that the economy is grinding to a halt and all that there are a whole lot of things that they ought to do, which they might not be able to do, being an election is also approaching, and it is for that reason that he had to sign the bill into law. And I think this is a lame excuse, in my own humble opinion.
Exactly.
So there's that if he disagrees with what has been submitted to him for a signature, he could approach the Attorney General to approach the Supreme Court
Exactly.
as a matter of urgency to look at some of this. And our judiciary has always been very, very responsive.
Yes.
One, that they are also part and parcel of the Nigerian society, and they know that the economy is something that you don't hold down for too long. It's going to have negative effect on everybody and all that. If he had done that, I'm sure within 1 month, the Supreme Court would have been able to deal with these matters and all that, and then we will have been able to give us a decision as regards who is right, who is wrong, who has the power to do what, and who doesn't have the power to do that. But like I said on the author of the action of Mr. President appears to me to be just based on political expediency. He does not want to sentiment. He will not want to rock the boat.
Exactly.
He also want to start playing to the gallery, trying to appeal or appease one section of the country against the other. And because when you look at all the projects he mentioned, they are all partly in the middle belt and then in the south. Yes. And these are areas he's likely to have a problem. Yes. Come the next election, he's talking about Lagos Ibadan Expressway, which is very dear to the Yoruba people. He's also talking about the second Niger bridge.
You now see the reason when I'm saying it has to
also the Igbo
political on the
He also talk about the Mambila projects and other, which is there to the people in the middle belt and what have you and other. And I think for me, it's inappropriate for him as the father of the nation to really to be playing to the gallery on an issue as fundamental as this.
All right, thank you for your submissions. However, I want to also bring to bear what the Honorable Minister of Budget and Planning, Udo Doma, said. Maybe this is going to show us light to see that there is a form of agreement between the executive and the legislature. Now, the same way that the president signed the 2018 budget, the Minister of Budget and Planning, Udo Doma, assured on Thursday, saying that the federal government, in spite of the delay in signing the budget, will ensure effective execution. And also saying that what the National Assembly has done is in line. Now, he further gave the breakdown of the allocations. According to him, he said capital expenditure would go up at 31.5% of the total expenditure and would go up 31.5% of the total expenditure at 2.87 trillion naira. He also said that this was more than 2.36 trillion naira allocated in 2017. Now, recurrent non-debt spending, he said, would rise from 2.99 trillion in 2017 to 3.51 trillion in 2018. So right about now, I want us to take a listen to the minister and hear for ourselves.
The oil price was adjusted upwards by the National Assembly to $51, which is, we believe, is achievable as an average price for this year, given where we are in the current, the current price of crude oil. So we believe this increase by the National Assembly is achievable. We expect a 41% increase in terms of oil revenues as between 2017 and 2018. Much of this comes from the higher price that we're expecting. You recall that I did indicate that we're using $51 as the reference price for oil. In addition to that, we're expecting customs revenue to go up significantly. Our customs are doing very, very well, and we're expecting the revenues to go up significantly. And spending on capital has been prioritized in favor of critical ongoing infrastructural projects such as power, roads, rail, and agriculture. The 100 billion naira Sukuk bond raised in October 2017, for instance, was deployed for the construction of 25 priority roads around the country. And I believe a few days ago, the Ministry of Finance gave out, made a release indicating exactly the breakdown of these capital releases.
favor them. I will want the caller to look at the concurrent legislative list, especially under education, section 27, which says that the National Assembly have the power to make laws for the establishment of universities, even secondary schools and polytechnics and other, and that they can even, that the power conferred on the National Assembly under paragraph 37 of this item shall include power to establish an institution for the purposes of university, post-primary, technological or professional education. If you look at most of the people in the National Assembly today, some of them have taken bills to the National Assembly saying that polytechnics or universities or some secondary schools or the other should be established within their jurisdiction. I am aware that Dina Mela here has said the School of Agriculture that is in Kaba should be upgraded to a university. I'm also aware that somebody from Imo and Anambra has also taken a bill to the National Assembly that a university should be established in that axis and all that. So, if they have power to do that, are you now saying that they will not have the power to make provisions for those ones that they have already passed into law and which probably has been signed by Mr. President? So honestly speaking, when you look at some of these things, the concurrent legislative, the exclusive legislative, and then you look at section 24 of the Constitution, and especially section 8 of the Constitution, which vests the control and power of the funds of the nation in the National Assembly, they can almost do and undo. Right. The only area in which they will err, in which they will go wrong, and which they can be taken up, is after they have passed this into law, they go back behind there and start awarding the contract to themselves.
So, which means the presidency needs to have more understanding as regards their own activities.
Now to go to the
impacts,
other questions
what
impact
will they be on the nation's economy?
Well, it is going to have a little impact, but it would have been better if the budget had been passed earlier on. As of today, when you look at it and all that, most of the politicians are even too busy already with a campaign. Yes. They are going around the whole places now that the routine governance is beginning to suffer. So I think that at least some of these projects will be touched. The contractor can go back to site if funds immediately released to them and all that. But the kind of decisive impact that you and I would have wanted the budget to have in our lives, if it had been earlier on passed, and if it is also a budget that is holistic, that is tailored towards ensuring that the economy is really jump-started, and then move forward to the direction in which all of us would have wanted it to move forward, then it would have been a very welcome development. But this budget, as I'm seeing it, there is too much politics around it, and I don't think that the Nigerian people are likely to have value for their money. In terms of this budget.
All right, thank you, Barrister Tunde Kolawole. Barrister Eto, what do you think?
Okay, I feel that, well, fine, the implementation period, of course, has been reduced, but overall, I believe that if the budget is well implemented, we should at least see some impact on the lives of the people. But the area would really want us to witness good impact, to be in the power sector, you know, because we can't continue to drive our economy on generators, you know, and I believe that once we can see a significant change in that power sector, then we know that our economy will come back in a very good way, you know. So I believe that, well, with proper implementation, we should be able to get some good results.
Can you allow me to briefly interject with regard to power, because it's a thing that is
yes,
to all of us.
But most businesses are already collapsing.
I have been saying this times without number, and I will continue to repeat it. All these mini power plants, all these Mandela, nuclear, power plant and all that, is not likely to solve the problem of this country. We have a nation of 180 million people. There is no home you go to in this country today without full complements of electrical gadgets, either in terms of handset, a pressing iron, a cooker, fluorescent lights, all sorts of complements and all. So if a nation is as big as this, and the population is this huge, and the nation also required to really jumpstart its industries and all that to be able to move forward, this country must invest in nuclear energy.
Nuclear energy.
Right. That is what is likely going to solve the problem. And there are many nuclear power plants now that are being designed all over the world. Take, for example, a place like China. Do you know that they even build housing estates in China now that will have a mini nuclear power reactor within that housing estate to generate energy or power for that community? and then the people are better served. That is the direction we should be looking at, because all these mini power plants are another that will generate 3,000 megawatts, 4,000 megawatts, and another cannot solve the problem of this country. It cannot. It cannot.
All right. Many thanks. I think before I go, I also want to take a contribution of a particular legal practitioner. Okay. So you know that we also feel the pulse of other people in this area. So let's take a look at this. This is legal practitioner Tony Ofoyeto, and hear what he has to say about this 2018 budget.
It's a political budget meant to pacify politicians. Basically, if the president had acknowledged that there are a lot of changes in contradiction to what he presented and what he expected, and he still went ahead to sign it, it simply means that he is just not at this point in time ready to draw any too much of battle with politicians at the National Assembly. So it's just like let them have their way, as it were. Don't forget that it's the same president that in 2016-2017 had running battle with the National Assembly. Remember the era of budget padding and the like. Now today we don't know whether the budget has been padded or not. But the implication of saying that there are a lot of changes is also as good as saying that the budget has been padded. Yet you went ahead to sign it. It speaks volume. To me, as far as I'm concerned, it's a budget in anticipation of 2019. So everything about it is 2019.
I'm concerned, really, if a president who is coming out to say he's bent on fighting corruption, or wouldn't you think that he should not go ahead and sign this particular budget?
For now, every fight has been suspended until after 2019. You know, when it comes to election and electioneering campaign, a lot of factors come to play. No matter what you think or say, Buhari is a politician, and he also has his political advisors that will tell him what to do per time. So every step he takes now, it's in anticipation of 2019. So the issue of fight against corruption, if you hear there are people that are convicted, it simply means that that conviction would aid campaign. If you hear that there are people who have not been convicted, it simply means that such non-conviction would aid 2019. So whatever it is as it is now, you know, if you remember, I said something at the wake of, at the middle of this administration. I said, look, the true act of governance is between the first 2.5 years of any administration that is serious-minded. The third year of any administration is electioneering year. And that's just the truth. And you can see.
All right, that's Barrister Tony Ofoyeto there. Now, based on this submission and on a final note, so round up the program, Barrister, do you agree with him?
Most of the things he said, you know, they also pointed out that this budget appears to be political, and that we are not likely to get any value for our money as such because of the intentions behind the budget. The area I want to disagree very vehemently is where he said if there are convictions now, it is because of politics. If there are no convictions, it is because of politics. I want to vehemently disagree with that. That's a very, very serious indictment on the Nigerian judiciary. And I don't think our judiciary operates that way, not at all. We don't operate that way. We have eminent men and women on the bench.
But even the president himself, remember, he once pointed that out when he was going after
if they have said, if there are people that are arraigned and others that are left unarraigned between now and 2019, that would have been a better way to put it. Yeah. But when you talk about conviction, our courts don't act on, or don't look at, as far as I know, majority of our judges really don't look at
not corrupt.
Not majority I can vouch for them. Majority are not corrupt.
Beat your chest for them.
I can.
I think this should be an individual thing.
I don't think. You can see the recent convictions. You can see that those are not, in my opinion, those are not political convictions at all. You know, at least you can see. Yes, and you can see that there are not even people in the opposition party, so to speak. So you cannot say that the convictions are being politicized.
And
That
there are
would
not
be
people
totally
in the
wrong.
party who have stepped on toes.
Exactly.
Who have stepped on toes.
Yeah.
Okay.
However, with regard
all right,
to
the final one quickly.
Well, with regard to the budget, the president giving his answer, I feel that yes, instead of the president coming out to tell us that the National Assembly did what they were not supposed to, he should have spared us that, knowing that he was still going to sign anyway. So why make us know, you know, when you know that at the end you are going to give your assent. But at the end of the day, he's presenting himself as a weak president.
Oh, weak president.
Yes.
And don't forget at the time they were saying that the president is slow.
Yes.
And right now, maybe that's what he's just trying to change.
Yes.
All right, I'll have to say a very big thank you to you, Barrister Tunde Kolawole. Many thanks for coming. And to the Beauty and Brain legal practitioner, Edu. Many thanks for coming on Super Eye.
Thanks for having me.
All right, for my viewers, many thanks for being a company. I hope that you would also watch out for another beautiful edition next week. Many thanks again for watching. As always, I'm Adenike Owoye Ajiboye, and that is how we draw the curtain.